it's my job to empower you to take care of yourself, or whether it's telling you about what toxins are hiding in your pantry. There are so many misconceptions about health and wellness that I really, really want to clear up for people. It's just, you have to now take the decision, make the choice. Do I want to be healthy?
Hello. Welcome to another episode on Soul2Soul podcast. I am very blessed to be joined by Noeline. We met a few years ago through online participation in something we were very passionate about, and through that process, our friendship has grown. Noeline is a qualified brain profiler. She has a lot of knowledge regarding homeopathy and also does the Alexander technique. But today we are going to focus on more the general overall health and the hidden toxins, I guess, that are everywhere. So welcome, Noeline. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and we shall see where this conversation goes today.
Okay, hi, Sana. So my journey actually began many, many years ago. I've been working in this industry 38 years. And I was speaking to an Alexander Technique client of mine who said to me, how does all your different modalities link up? And I don't know why, but it was the first time I actually thought about what it was that he was asking. And I said to him, well, actually, it's my job to empower you to take care of yourself. Whether it's through Alexander Technique and teaching you how to use your body, or whether it is explaining to you how your brain operates so that you can cope better in relationships and understand yourself better, or whether it's telling you about what toxins are hiding in your pantry. Every single thing I do is to educate and empower people to take care of themselves. So I'm a health and wellness educator and coach, and I'm on TikTok. I'm known as that Detox chick because toxicity is my middle name. It's really what I stand for. I am really passionate about empowering people to understand that you don't drink water from the tap, that you want to know what's in that water, and the fact that if you boil it in a kettle, it isn't clean. There are so many misconceptions about health and wellness that I really, really want to clear up for people.
Yes, I was sitting outside yesterday having some lunch, and we were just having a little conversation, and they saw my stainless steel lunchbox and my stainless steel water bottle that has filtered water in it. And they kind of like, oh, wow, that looks so good. I'm like, yes, I'm a bit of a health nut. And one of the ladies was like, oh, yeah, my partner's the same. They're always dieting and not this food. I'm like, for me, I eat anything, but it's the hidden toxins that I try to eliminate out of my life. And I think that's what you're meaning. It's have you actually read the label on the pantry items? Have you looked at what's in your washing detergent? You know, all those hidden toxins that accumulate so much, right?
Absolutely. Sort of one of the ones that comes to mind immediately as you start to talk was, and that is salt. And I often say this to people and they go, oh, no, I eat Himalayan salt. And I go, oh, good, great. How about processed foods? How many chips do you eat? How many pretzels do you eat? How many bought processed foods do you eat, which you aren't aware that they're using common or garden table salt? And then you kind of watch them kind of start to think, oh, hadn't quite figured that, hadn't factored that idea in. And this is an important thing because what common or garden salt does is it makes little cuts in the veins.
Wow.
And so the body then has to use the body's own polyfiller, which is beautiful. It's cholesterol, and it goes to repair the veins. Now, if you just keep doing that, of course, the veins are going to start clogging up a little bit. So it pushes up your blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So in fact, blood pressure isn't an issue. Salt is the issue. And Celtic salt is by far the best. But sea salt, Himalayan salt, yay, better than table salt. Okay. And the thing is that people are keen to change the table salt, but don't realize that the table salt is in a myriad of all your bought goods, in all your processed foods.
And it's so interesting. So I was peeling the apple that I was preparing for my lunchbox on Monday morning, because I don't have the budget to buy organic food, and my children love apple peel. And so my son was like, "Can I have some?" And I'm like, "No, I'm peeling it because it is not organic. So no, you cannot have it." And my daughter, she was like, "Why don't you buy organic food, Mum?" I'm like, "Because it is too expensive." And she looked at me and she said, "Maybe you should ask the council to make organic food cheaper and non-organic food more expensive, so that everyone can buy organic food." And I just went, "Oh, darling, bless you." I wish. I wish. But if it's just, why did we, many, many, many years ago thought as a society, let's just mass produce and just get all this stuff into people's for the convenience, right? Homemade cookies taste so much better than the store-bought one, but it takes time. And at the moment, with the price of butter, it might actually be more expensive to do your own baking. But aside that, at least it's this flour, it's this butter, it's these organic raisins or whatever you want to put in them. And there is not the stabilizer and the food coloring and the enhancer, this, that, and the other thing. And the normal salt that will be in the cooked chips, right? And it's like we've become such slaves to convenience, and it is killing us silently in the background.
Well, Sana, you make the most perfect point. And I often say to people, could we just put an enormous sign in our supermarkets over the normal veggies saying this is doused in arsenic? Would you then buy it? If you read that sign? I'm wondering if you understood that the arsenic is in the pesticides, which is what immobilizes the insects, but it is also immobilizing us. It's the number one cause of headaches. It's the number one cause of stomach irritation and cramping, and all kinds of allergies are actually caused by arsenic. And you're taking an arsenic, my sweetheart, no matter what we do, we're taking it in, because it's the one thing that we absorb in the shower, because it actually goes into our skin. It's small enough to actually be absorbed in the shower. So we're all getting our good dose of arsenic every time we have a shower, unless, of course, you're filtering the water that goes into your house. But you're definitely drinking it in the tap water, because, of course, it goes through into the soil. It washes off our plants and into the soil and into our groundwater. So unless you are really purifying your water, you're really getting a good dose of arsenic every day. And so we have a lot of people who are kind of running under par, but they accept this as the status quo, because they go, well, I'm getting older, so therefore these are running repairs. I hear this every day. Honest to goodness, I do. And I keep saying, no, really, this isn't the way it should be. You should be full of life, full of vitality, full of the joys of life every day. If you actually are aware that you are being poisoned, not only in the air and in the food and in the water, there are many other ways that they are poisoning us. So it is really building an awareness. And I know that it used to be different, and I understand that. When a number of years ago, I used to sell bottled water, and so I used to do laboratory testing of water. And you would honestly, if people knew what was in that tap water, it would make them go gray immediately. You wouldn't believe the toxins that are in there. And so I sold this bottled water, and I'd go into companies, and people would say to me, no, we've been drinking the tap water forever and we're fine. Okay, good. And do you have asthma? Yes, I've got asthma. And do you have eczema? Well, yes, I had eczema as a child. And, and people are not joining the dots. They're not joining the dots that these illnesses actually aren't normal. It's your body's way of trying to get rid of toxins. And I don't know if I can just carry on, because I'm so passionate about this. This leads me on to the next thing. which is because we're talking about water and we're talking about hydration, we don't realize that we actually need salt in our bodies in order to properly hydrate. So that's number one. Number two is that you need to be able to sweat in order to hydrate. And in the meeting I was just in a few minutes ago, we have a beautiful beautician who takes great pride in telling all the people that she injects Botox under your armpits to stop you from being able to sweat. Because just like convenience foods, it's inconvenient to sweat. And so we use antiperspirants and we use Botox under the armpits where our lymphatic system is located to get rid of toxins. And if you don't sweat, you can't get rid of them. Well, I mean, it's one avenue, but it's a big avenue to get rid of them. And just underneath your arm, the next big organ there is the breast tissue. So if the body can't get rid of a toxin, it's going to put it somewhere. And it loves to put it in fatty tissue. And the place we find fatty tissue is the breast tissue, and the brain is full of fatty tissue. So, so we're wondering why we're seeing all these adults with ADHD and all these people with different illnesses. It's not a wonder at all. People are tired. They're listless. They can't motivate themselves. The list is endless, and you can hear I'm way over passionate about this. I know.
But it's good. I think it's education, and people are just so kept busy with life that they don't have the brain capacity to even be open to hear what people like yourself and myself are sharing. Again, yesterday we were talking in part of that conversation with the lunchbox, I started talking about, I saw a really interesting stat, you might know it, in the 1950s, so this is about puberty, when puberty starts in boys and girls. In the 1950s, for boys, puberty would start between the ages of 13 and 14, and for girls between 12 and 13. Now, for boys, it's between 10 and 12, and for girls, it's between 8 and 9. And I told them that, and I said, it's the endocrine disruptors that are in your perfume, that are in your deodorant. I'm like, what's wrong with deodorant? I'm like, it has aluminium in it. Why do they put aluminium in it? I'm like, I don't know. I use a natural one, and I actually, now that I've used a natural one, which is you can purchase in the supermarket, aluminium-free, New Zealand company, I don't need to use it every day. I use it maybe the day after I've had a shower, or the day off having a shower, and that kind of sets me up, and my body sweats, but I don't stink. But also, I wear wool, I wear cotton, I wear natural fibers rather than the plastic derived polyester and all those kind of jazz. And I'm not wanting people to go, oh my God, I need to replace everything in my house. I think if you kind of set a list of, this grocery shop, I'm going to go natural deodorant. Next grocery shop, I'll go natural shampoo and conditioner without all those horrific things that are in there, and slowly change your household. How would you advise people? Because they might be listening to us going, oh my gosh, I am killing myself, and being overwhelmed and doing the ostrich approach of, I don't want to hear this. What do you advise people to make changes in their lives?
Sana, you are so right. And at the moment, I've got a student who is a pregnant mum, and I'm teaching her how to use homeopathy as first aid. But actually, most of the time, I'm actually just teaching her about healthy food, clean water, and eventually I decided I would just take her shopping, because it became a bit overwhelming. I could see that she was kind of glazing over. And so she photographed. She didn't buy everything. I said, this is better than this one, and this is why. Aluminium actually is an anti-caking agent. And so they use it to stop things from sticking together. So it's in all flour, it's in deodorant, it's in a huge amount of things. Okay. But and oddly enough, you have to, this is going to be very weird, but there are ways that they can use aluminium to also be a caking agent. So it's also in tablets. And so really you can't miss it. You really can't miss it. And toothpaste and stuff like that. Anyway, the point is, I took her shopping, and I think that that made a big difference because I could show her. She has a little girl of 4 who was constantly sick, constantly staying home from school. Should get better and be back sick again the next day. Should get better. And I said, well, look, let's look at what she's eating. And goodness me, it was a train smash. So I went back with her, I took her and I said, let me show you. Here's where we can do things. Let me show you where to shop. Let me show you how to shop. And I know I can't do that with everybody, but I'm happy to do one-on-ones with people and go through your pantry and show you where things are hiding so that next shop you can make another decision. And I don't make money from these companies. I'm not selling soy sauce or any of these. I'm not making money from this. I'm doing it because I want you to make better choices so that you vote with your feet, so that in fact you know what it is that you're doing and you know what it is that you're putting in your body. I think the big thing here is that people need to take responsibility for themselves. I have a sense that people expect that their doctors or the medical system are there to care for them. And the news is out that unfortunately this is not the case. You, in fact, are where the buck stops. I last had an antibiotic 30 years ago when I was pregnant with my daughter and I had pneumonia. And my GP gave me an antibiotic and it gave me thrush in an instant. And I phoned him and shouted at him and said to him, why didn't you tell me to take a probiotic? And he turned to me, my GP, and said, you are responsible for your own health. You know that you need to take a probiotic when you have an antibiotic. You should have done it. That was a bit of a wake-up call.
Wow.
Yeah, that GP didn't last long. Anywho, not because I didn't love him, I absolutely adored him, but unfortunately he found being on the planet too difficult. But we are needing to learn to be responsible, and it is scary. It is scary to realize, oh my gosh, we're being harmed, and I'm powerless to fix it. I think that really becomes quite frightening. I remember when we lived in South Africa amongst enormous amounts of crime, and we didn't feel like we could get out. We justified to everybody that it was okay, that we were okay with it. We had protected ourselves. We had found ways around it because we knew we couldn't leave. And we felt frightened that we had to stay, so we managed to justify it. And when we put out a notice here where I live in Tapuki that the air is polluted here because of all the spraying of one kind or another and the wood mill, the backlash is monumental. You can see the fear in people saying it's a farm place, get used to it, grow a pear, joking about all sorts of things instead of going, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? How about we do something about this? So fear actually has a big part to play in people not stepping up and changing their lives. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. They stuck between a rock and a hard place. And it's like, am I going to cut off my arm to take self-responsibility? But again, I come back to, I think we are just on purpose being kept so busy. You have to work from 9 to 5 days a week. And then a lot of us are not able to make ends meet because, as I said before, butter is now close to $20 a kilo, which is just mind-boggling. I paid $20 a kilo for the cheaper mints that used to be $14, $15 a kilo. And it's just, everything just adds up, right? Mortgage rates, which I am not paying right now because I'm paying someone else's mortgage, but even rent, it's just astronomical. So people are just head down, side hustles, and then by the time they have downtime, It's plopping down on the couch and just want to be a zombie because it is too hard. Having very superficial conversations of the holiday they want to go on or the TV show they watched yesterday, but not going with, so my child is really struggling. What would you suggest? And we are putting labels on children and adults. But why do we need a label? We need a label so that Big Pharma can then go, here is your pill and that will fix you.
Exactly.
Rather than going to, oh, you have 10 amalgam fillings in your mouth.
Exactly. Exactly.
Fascinating and sad and horrible. But yes, I think taking small steps for people to make that change, right?
Look, I think the good news is that what I have discovered, and I've been in this industry 38 years, it has never been easier to detox. It has never been cheaper. It has never been easier. It has, for me, that just excites me more than I can even begin to describe, because things have become available for us that literally do the job that we needed to do. So when I was 24, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease because I had zero immune system left after 24 years of antibiotics and cortisone for the allergies, and had been on the pill for 5 years. I basically had zero left, absolutely no immune system by age 24.
Wow.
And that's when I went to visit my first homeopath. And bless her heart, she looked at me and just shook her head as to, how are you still standing? And she took me in hand and she changed my diet, and she put me on a course of macrobiotic cooking to teach me how to cook properly. She really was incredible, and she started to rebuild my system. But it still took me years and years and years to find what the cause of the issue was. And I honestly, by chance or by the grace of God, found myself in a lecture by a doctor in Pretoria, Dr. Albie Ford, and he described how heavy metals actually were causing all these issues. And not only did I have a mouth full of amalgam, and so I was super sensitive to everything. And I literally just spent every day of my life being ill. And I made it my mission at that point to really help people understand this. And I had to go for drips, because at that stage, that was all that was available to get metals out of the body, right? So I had to go and they were expensive as anything. Once a week, I had to drive all the way to Pretoria, which also cost a lot of money because it was an hour away from where I lived. And I used to go for these drips, and I was so frightened of needles, but I forced myself to go and endure so that I could get rid of these heavy metals. And within 10 sessions, my life had changed. I got my brain back. I used to have to go on radio shows, and I was panicking because I wouldn't know any words. I couldn't find the words. They were in my head, but I couldn't find them. And I used to panic. I can't even describe to you the panic. I thought it was because I had a child and I had what they call, porridge brain from having had a baby, which is just nonsense. But what I didn't understand is that while I was pregnant, I had tremendous heartburn. And with that, I took a little antacid, which was full of aluminium. So I was adding to the problem all the time without knowing it. And so it was an education process for me to get my health back. Today, my gracious me, you can use little drops like this, EDTA drops, and that takes the heavy metals out of the system. Couldn't be simpler. I mean, you know what I mean? It just couldn't be easier for us today. So that's the good news. The good news is you can make healthy choices. The good news is that you can have clean water. The good news is that you can get the metals out of the body and the parasites. So there isn't anything we can't reverse at this point. It does take money. It does take money. That is the only catch.
Yeah.
Yes, and time, patience. But it does take money.
Mm.
And that irks me, because I think we all actually, this is our right to have our health. And it irks me that only some people can have it.
Yeah. Yes, and having the education available easily. You know, that GPs, if you have to go on antibiotics, and you know, I'm not saying don't, because you know, we sometimes do need them. I had a appendicitis earlier in the year, and I wasn't going to say no, I'll figure it out myself with some herbs. But it's the doctor then goes, and now also take a good probiotic to go along with it. If you need to have Pamol for your child because they've got a really high fever, you know, me personally, if they have a 38-degree fever, it's like, you just write it up, and I'll put some diluted essential oils like peppermint on their spine and write it out, and give the Pamol when it's really getting up there and they're very miserable. But then support them. And I think grapefruit essential oil, then is it glue? I can't pronounce the word, but it then counteracts the negative side effect of Pamol. So it's finding out, okay, I'm going to do this. How can I best support my body or my child's body to make it a better thing for everyone, and having the education easily available so that we can make those decisions.
Totally. And I mean, I'm by no means not saying that the medical fraternity shouldn't exist. I mean, if you break an arm, please go to the hospital. If you have a 3rd-degree burn, please go to the hospital. If you're close to death and you need an antibiotic, absolutely, that is the time that you need them. The problem has come that they're not aware of the fact that what that antibiotic is doing is destroying your gut bacteria. And what people aren't joining the dots with is that can lead to depression. And so one dose ups your risk by 42% of depression. A following dose in the same year leads your depression now skyward. So if you are not counteracting it with probiotics and awareness that your gut now needs repair, you're down a slippery slope. And then, of course, you're now into a new territory that is even more difficult terrain to navigate. And I am seeing this a lot. There's another thing here that really is something I want to bring up for this conversation, and that is your thyroid is the only organ in the body that absorbs radiation. And we are being whacked with radiation, literally, from every corner that we can think of, whether it's our phones. And I'm still seeing people wearing their phones on their body, which alarms me, whether it's their computers or the smart meters in their homes. Radiation has become so, I don't know if the word is infiltrated, but we're so infiltrated with this radiation. And one of the top issues that the medical fraternity are seeing is thyroid issues. And so what they've just done is that they've extended the range of normal. So instead of going, you've got a problem, we don't know what to do, actually, we don't know how to fix this, we'll just extend the range of normal. Okay. And that's so scary because we're seeing so many people with thyroid issues because there's huge amounts of depression, huge amounts of people losing their temper in a second. There's so many different symptoms of thyroid issue, and xenoestrogens up your estrogen level, right? Which also then now sends you. And this is what mold does. This is what mold toxicity does to us. It ups your estrogen by 3 times. So you are really out of it. You're either very depressed or your whole body just doesn't function properly anymore. We're in a very, very difficult soup at the minute of things coming at us from so many different angles. We really have to be eyes on stalks. we have to really now start taking responsibility. It's back to that place of taking responsibility for your health. And clean, dry homes, essential. Essential. I mean, a client of mine a little while ago came to me. She was cutting herself. She was losing her temper. And she could tell she was losing it, and she couldn't stop it.
Wow.
She couldn't control that fury. And she drove away her partner, whom she loved desperately, because he couldn't cope with the madness. All of it to do with mold. So, and that thyroid was just totally out of whack. Again,
Yeah.
we can fix this. We can fix it naturally. We can address these issues. They can be done. But they need to be, people need to be aware, because they go into the spiral, and it, if she hadn't seen me, she would have been put in the mental institution because she seemed mad.
Yeah, and we just put it like, oh, I'm getting older, or my kids are driving me crazy, or we think about all these normal things that could excuses. That's right. But we don't think about, oh, maybe it's the pill I'm taking. Maybe it's the salt I'm using. Maybe it's the water I'm drinking. And it's, yeah, and it's so normal for me. Like, I haven't had a microwave in my house for 21 years. And I know that, like yesterday, I thought for a second, like, oh, there's some beautiful chicken korma left in the fridge. I'll put it in a glass container and then put it in the microwave at work, and I'll step away, like a meter away from the microwave. But I'm like, no, I just can't do it. I can't do it.
God,
Oh, but it's the convenience of having a warm lunch. And I'm like, well, otherwise it's heating up in the morning on the stove and then getting a little thermos thing. Again, it's the convenience of just chucking it in the microwave. But we have no idea what these Bluetooth AirPods are doing to our brain, what carrying a phone on your body, what just... Because surely the government is not against us. Surely these companies wouldn't sell us these products if they were bad for our health. And there are rumors that the CEOs of these really top companies, they don't let their children be on smart devices. They don't have Wi-Fi in their house. I mean, I don't know if this is really true, but if the knowledge is there and the money is there, would you allow it in your house, right?
Absolutely right. And in fact, Stephen Jobs is known to not allow his children to be on these devices, and certainly not to carry them on their bodies. So this information is available. It's not hidden, luckily. It's just, you have to now take the decision. Make the choice. Do I want to be healthy? Okay, what is it going to cost? What is it going to cost me time-wise? And I have to tell you that it gives one enormous satisfaction to do it right. Really and truly. My husband and I have not had an antibiotic in 30 years. It's not that we haven't gotten sick. We have. We're just determined to find other ways. And we understand that so many diseases are actually parasite-driven. And so the moment we start to feel like we're coming down, we hit parasites first. Yeah? We start with things that we know are life-giving, like honey, for example, like ginger, like turmeric. We head to the pantry to actually get our nutrition. And then we go into the garden and we eat some nasturtium leaves, which are high in vitamin C. And then we go and eat some goat cola, which supports the liver. You know what I'm saying? So it is so empowering, and it is so freeing when you know that you are in charge of your body and how it's going to feel today, tomorrow, and the next day. And likewise, your children. And my son is 23. He's had one antibiotic in his life, and that was when he was 6 months old, and he really was very close to death. It was a matter of life and death, and I had to choose this. At that point, I didn't know enough, actually, to make another decision. But it was at that moment when I had to then do what had to be done. And I saved his life by doing that. And so I'm not telling people not to do that. There is a moment that's very important to know that you've got to do that. But from that moment on, I realized that I needed to pay more attention. And having children is actually a huge responsibility. You're bringing humans into the world, and it is your responsibility to actually give them what they need to thrive. Yeah. And to this day, he is 23. If he's not feeling well, he phones me and goes, Mum, this is what's happening. What should I take? I've taught him how to do muscle checking. I've given him a homeopathic kit. He brings out his kit, and I said to him, right, these are the remedies you need to look at. And he brings them out and he muscle checks them. I'm muscle checking them at the same time. And I'm going, look, this one, I feel this one's good. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's good. That one's testing positive. And so the next day he's right as rain, back to work. And now his girlfriend phones and says, hi, I'm not feeling so well. No problem. Bring out Mark's kit. Let's look and see what you need. She hasn't had any drugs either for all the time that we've known her. So it's an education. It is an education. So when he was little, we were walking in Countdown, and he wanted Nutella. And I said, okay, let's see if you muscle check well for it. So he reached for the Nutella and he put it on his chest, and I muscle checked him in the middle of Countdown. I said, this is good for you. And his arm dropped. He didn't say a word. He just put the Nutella back on the shelf, because his body told him that he wasn't, not me. It wasn't me. It was his body. He said, no. Oh, well, it's no. And he put it back. So education, we want to educate our children. We want them to thrive, and we need to pay attention. It takes energy, takes effort, but by goodness, when they're adults and they're using this information well, I cannot even describe to you what a delight it is.
And to me, it's also a signal from the body if it's sick. Excuse me, you're getting a sore throat. It's the hidden message. You need to express yourself more, right? And about a year ago, out of nowhere, I got a really high fever, like over 40 degrees. But I was feeling good. Like I wasn't sore. I wasn't out of my mind. I just lay in bed and I sweated and sweated and sweated for days. I did not touch paracetamol, Nurofen, or anything like that. But on the second day that it was over 40 degrees, my mum did get a bit worried, and she said, come here. And so we made a cayenne pepper bath to help the body start to sweat it out. And it was uncomfortable in certain places, I can tell you that. But afterwards, in that night, so maybe 5 hours later, I woke up and drenched in sweat. And the next day, the fever was gone. Yes. And I still don't know what the message was from my body that I needed to fight or whatever, but I just took time. And we all get sick leave. We all get parental sick leave and all that kind of stuff. So you use those moments to let your body express the messages that it has, rather than popping those night and day flu pills. Or I've never taken those in my life, because I'm like, I am sick for a reason. It's fighting an infection. It's letting me know to slow down. And you can look at anything. You sprain your ankle. What's the message there? You're hurting your lower back. You're whatever. And I think muscle testing and looking at the metaphysical messages of an illness is so powerful, to just go, this is where I'm at.
Totally. Absolutely. 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. And it really is giving the body an opportunity to express itself. When you study homeopathy, illness is an opportunity for the body to refine balance. So basically, you've just lost your balance, and you're looking to create homeostasis again. And so it is really that simple. And you're absolutely right. When I teach homeopathy, I teach moms how to deal with fevers for their children, because what you want to make sure is that the heat doesn't go to the head. You want to make sure you draw the heat away from the head. So you wrap the ankles and wrists in cold wraps, to draw the heat. We don't want to get rid of the heat because that's the body's way of dealing with something that it doesn't want in the body. But we don't want any damage to the brain. So we want to draw the heat away from the brain. Otherwise, it's absolutely essential. And again, just listen to what you said about the sweating. The sweating is the key. And if we don't allow ourselves to sweat, God forbid, it really is serious. I took my sister, who's a nurse, to see a friend of mine who does dark field blood analysis. And he said to her, "You're not hydrated." And I've never met anybody who drinks more in my life. She drinks so much water, you cannot imagine. And I was a bit shocked. I thought, well, how is this even possible? And this is where I learned, because you're always learning, never a day I don't learn. This is where I learned that A, salt is really important, and B, she says she never sweats. And that was when I understood how important sweating was for hydration. And you need your brain to work, you need to be hydrated. So very important. And so he told her she needs to go for infrared saunas to teach her body to learn how to sweat, which she did, and she's much better for it.
Wow.
So, I mean, honestly, there isn't a day I don't learn. Truly, there isn't, because we are learning more and more every day. But it is an amazing thing, this body. It is purposeful. It is built purposefully. And I can't tell you how many children I've seen who have eczema early on in their childhood, and then cortisone cream is applied, and those children develop asthma. And then cortisone sprays are applied, and lo and behold, those children then develop joint issues, because the toxins have to go somewhere.
Yeah.
You have to get them out. And whenever you see a problem on the skin, you have to know it's the liver, because the liver and the skin work together. And it's the liver's way of going, "Hello, I've got a problem over here. Could somebody help me with this?" So if you have eczema, the body is trying to show you that there is a toxin it's trying to get out. So there isn't anything by mistake.
No.
You know, the body is so beautiful and so wonderfully designed and so clever. They've tried to make machines as clever as us, and they can't. We're just far too brilliant.
Yeah. So I think we could talk for many, many hours. So for those who are not yet deterred by all the toxins around them, what would be your top, 5 things you would encourage people to change in their, either the pantry or their household product? What would be your where would you start?
Number 1, under-counter filter, proper reverse osmosis water. Water. That would be my absolute number 1. Number 2, I think, would be to, oh my golly, I would say if we take a good look at the pantry, I would say throw the aluminium foil out the door, along with the aluminium foil trays or any pans that contain aluminium. That would be a good start. I think number 3 is to start investigating what farms are close to you, because there are usually farms or people who are growing good quality vegetables not far away, and to start some kind of a swap with them. That I think is absolutely essential. And I encourage everybody I come into contact with to support the organic farms around us, because we don't want them to go out of business. We want them to be there to support us. So, and when we grow vegetables and we've got too much, we barter with people who've got honey, or people who've got avocados, or whatever we don't have. So we're using what we've got to barter. So grow your own vegetables. Absolutely essential. I think we're on number 4. Number 5, please turn off your Wi-Fi at night. Please either get a grounding mat, walk outside every single day with your bare feet to ground the body, to help the body with radiation. And phone me, have a consultation with me.
Yes,
Let's check out your health.
absolutely. So as I said at the
30-minute
beginning,
free.
you are a brain profiler as well. So I just quickly want to put that out. I've had my brain profiled by Noeline and my oldest child. It's amazing to understand how we cope with stress. So if you're interested in figuring out how your brain works under those kind of conditions, Noeline is your person. But when it comes to these kind of conversations, how do people get in touch?
The best thing is to either email me at info@alternativehealthsolutions.co.nz. And I offer a 30-minute, no cost, no obligation consultation so that I can get to hear what it is that people are dealing with. And then if I can help, I can then offer suggestions. If I can't, I'll tell them where to go for help.
Beautiful.
So that's the best, that's what I'm offering.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Noeline, for taking time out of your busy life. I, like you, very passionate about education. And I think these types of conversations, waking people up and not be too doom and gloom. There are many small changes we can make. Another one for aluminium, of course, is look at the deodorant that you're using. Yes. A big one for me is all the fragrances that we have in our lives. They are endocrine disruptors. So just, use an essential oil roller. And you can change that, right? You can put some tangerine on or some ylang-ylang for a more vanilla, I was going to say flavor, but aroma around you, rather than having these horrid wall diffusers with all this synthetic stuff. So the small changes will have a massive, big impact, the cleaning product you use. Anyway, as I said, we can talk.
I know we could go on forever. It's true.
But then in 5 years, like if you start today and then in 5 years' time, you see someone else using the microwave with a plastic container, you might be brave enough to say, do you know what this is doing to your health? And just start. And that's all you need to do. That first step, big, small, doesn't matter. Just make that first commitment. Absolutely. So thank you so much, Noeline. I look forward to perhaps doing this again, and we could maybe talk about the brain profiling work that you do.
Wonderful. Look forward to it. Thank you, Sana. Too delightful. Thank you.